Why do you think it's so easy for us to focus on the nut more than the camel?
A foundation to this whole thing. Before Jesus came to the nut and the camel, back to Genesis. So you've seen that we've been going back. In Genesis, you realize that when God created the garden, he put the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then he also put the tree of life. But he never told Adam and Eve not to eat the tree of life. He told them not to eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right. So they went ahead and ate the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And every tree, there's a seed. And that seed came into us. So in the Adamic nature of us, we have the seed inside us that hasn't left. Until you pick Jesus, that is the tree of life, which they neglected and didn't pick. Until you pick that, that's why he said, a man will have to be born again. You are born again because this Adamic nature that you picked in the garden, this seed that is still growing in you has to die. That is why the Bible also says that until a seed will go to the ground and die, it shall be alone. So the moment that you die to this self, you are not doing this thing by your own strength and by your own might, but you have picked tree of life, which is Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one will come to the Father except through him. He didn't say you will come to the Father through the good and evil, but you will come to the tree of life. Because in the tree of life, that's where the Spirit of God also dwells. And in the tree of life, when you have Jesus, the word of the Lord, it says that tree, that he also died on the same tree. So he carried this thing on a cross for us so that we receive all these three things, the love, the mercy, and the justice. So we have to realize that this Adamic nature has sin inside us until we choose Jesus, who give us the truth through his word. We will not be able to do anything. That's why I love this verse when it says that abide in me and I in you, so you can bear forth fruit. So if Jesus is not abiding in us, who are we? Nothing. Because in his abiding in us and we abiding in him, that is where we bear good fruits. And what is these good fruits that he talked about? Love, patience, kindness, meekness, gentleness, self-control. So do this very well, then it means that the fruit has to grow. And what is the new fruit? Is Christ. We don't have that old fruit of good and evil because Adam and Eve were still trying to do good and evil. That's why they chose that. So, and the same thing that the Pharisees are eating, they've ate the good and evil and forgetting the tree of life because Jesus came and some of the Jewish people still today don't think Jesus has come. So they haven't eaten the tree. They saw the tree, they saw the cross, but nothing is happening to them. So until redemption has been instilled in you, until redemption has become your blueprint, then you can be able to feed on the word and the word will also feed you. If you are not abiding in the word, who are you listening to? If you are not listening to Christ, you are listening to what? Social media. So let's abide. That's the only way, because Jesus will give us that direction. It's a pathway.